Have you ever thought about doing some repairs to maybe one of your guitars while talking about what's going on and relishing in some wins, maybe telling some stories? Well, that's what we're doing today. Let's have a think about that. Hey everybody, welcome to today's episode. Today we're going to have a little bit of fun, something a little different. So if you're listening on the podcast, there's a great video that goes along with this that you could watch, or you can just listen as we tell stories and do a little bit of guitar work and get some things done. The main thing we're doing today is taking a look at this Vega trim that we're going to replace this old trim on this Mexican Strat guitar and replace that, tell a bit of a story, and then we'll just go from there, see what happens. So, excuse me. First thing I want to do is just kind of, as we're getting into this, as I'm doing the work, mindlessly working away, I want to talk about the story of why this guitar is so important to me personally, to our family, and why I'm so excited to put this new Vega trim on there. But starts back in, the early 2000s, 2010s, I guess. And back then, I've been playing guitar for many, many years and finally decided to invest in my first real instrument on a professional level. And after doing that, I decided to get myself a Strat, an American Strat. And back then it was called an American Deluxe. 2012, I believe, was the year. So it was the first time I ever ordered a guitar that came off a line that was fresh. Nobody had played it before me besides inspectors. And it was a really, really, really big deal. So for that, get the guitar, finally get my hands on it, start playing it, and I fall in love with it. It's an absolutely wonderful guitar. And have it for many years, and then comes 2014, 2015, I meet my wife. We buy a home together and decide that I'm going to build a studio here to do recording, have artists in, and go from there. And we didn't have much money at the time, so had to come up with a way to get a start. When getting a business off the ground is very, very difficult. And when it came down to it, decided that I was going to build my own console desk for the studio. And in doing that, really had to get really crafty because we didn't have a lot of money. Like I said, everything was kind of really tight. We just got our first home. We were just trying to survive. And I started building it out of pieces of wood I had around the house. We had some closets that we didn't really utilize. And there was these beautiful thick wood doors on them. And took those down and started building the desk. I'll put some pictures up here so you can take a look at that as well if you're watching the video. And started piecing that together. And from there, got it all built. Was quite happy with it. And then it came time to start putting things in the desk. Needed some gear, some things to actually make recordings with. So needed some money. I took that Strat, that original American Fender, and after many, many hours of trying to convince my wife that this is the best route forward because she did not want me to sell it, but sold it off and was able to get the first pieces of gear for the studio and start putting things in the desk and doing things that way. And from there, it was just a matter of time till that's fine. Things started finally picking up and taking off, and probably about 2022, we were doing pretty good. Life was going great, and me and my wife talked about it, and we decided she wanted me to buy back a new guitar. And at that time, and I believe they still have it now, Fender had something called the Mod Shop, where you could go in and pick out every single piece, everything on that guitar from beginning to end, exactly as you want it. So, went in there, we built it together, get it shipped here, and get it in my hands. It's still to this day my favorite guitar. I call it Big Jules for the Montana Big Sky Jewel just because it's so beautiful. It's blue. It's right behind me. You can take a look at that and see it. It's really cool. Oops. And I love the guitar to death. It is just fantastic. But at the same time that I was getting that, somebody on our local Craigslist was selling the exact pickguard with the pickups in it from that 2012 American Deluxe. And the really cool part about it is it has an S1 switch on it, which is just like, basically it's like a tap coil, so you can go between single coil and a humbucker kind of sound. And it gives a lot of versatility to the guitar. Great for a studio when you got to make a lot of different sounds. And I just couldn't pass it up. So I got that, was able to pick that up. And then somebody was selling this Fender Mexican-made, this beautiful white. Picked that up. And, of course, put on some new tuners on it and wired in the new S1 pickguard, which was its own experience. Not as easy as I thought it was going to be, but I did learn quite a bit about soldering and getting things done that way. And it was sounding absolutely perfect. Almost to the T, exactly what I wanted. The next mod that came out of that was this here. The pickguard, as you'll see when I flip back over, and this back plate. Picked up a custom-made one for that I just really love, that shiny blueness to it. I was a sucker for that. Pick that up. And then, from there, it was almost the absolutely most perfect guitar. I absolutely love this guitar. It's the one that I practiced the most on. You know, we built a theater in our basement to watch movies, and I watch my basketball games down there. And then during my basketball games, I will spend hours just practicing. And of course, as you can see from the very front of the pickguard, I made the mistake of forgetting to take the plastic off it. And, you know, I played it so much and practiced so much that it started wearing through there. And I thought I was wearing through the pickguard, but forgot to take out the plastic, which, hey, now that we're here, let's do that together. Which is kind of a treat, because this is my wife's favorite thing to do, is to pull off these pieces of plastic. Really makes her happy, so I always make sure to save it for her. But since we're on camera today, I will take care of this one today. I hope she forgives me. Oop. But yeah, everything came together just to make this absolutely beautiful guitar. So versatile, can make so many great sounds, can adapt to so many different styles as needed. I mean, in our studio, we're doing anything from hard rock, metal, to bluegrass, country, you know, singer-songwriter. And when somebody needs a solo, when somebody needs a backup rhythm, having something that can step in and do all this work is such a godsend. Oh, perfect. Oh, fun. So unwrapping a Christmas present. Super fun. But now, speaking of Christmas presents, this is my wife's Christmas present to me. She gave it to me a little bit early. But I don't know if you watch Bluey or have seen Bluey, but that's Muffin, and it's the greatest shirt ever. She is awesome. She gives the best gifts. Muffin is my spirit animal. Just chaos personified. Let's get us close enough. There's a little lesson in there, though. If you get a new pickguard, always be sure to get the plastic off. Otherwise, you wind up going back and dealing with this. Its own special kind of nightmare. Bam, bam. Nice. So anyways, there you have it. Oh, it does look better though. Every time you turn around, something new that just fall more in love with this guitar. So the moral of that story is that, sometimes when it comes to it, you may have to make a sacrifice and just trust that good things are going to come back to you. It'll work itself out. If you put in the work, you put in the time, things will come back to you. And thankfully it did. The best part about these, I'm not sure if you've ever had, as we're putting this new trim on, a locking tuners. They just make changing out strings so wonderfully better and easy. Can't beat it. And so, after our last week's episode where we talked about doing our research, making sure we're getting best buys when it comes to investing in new gear so that you only have to do it once and that your money goes to where it really needs to be, that is exactly the process that I followed to pick out this Vega trim. And I must have watched at least 20, 30 videos of people installing them, what they liked about them, at least 10 other different versions of tremolos for strats that would be good, but none of them are quite right. Everybody has their own preference. I really love, especially on like the old Deluxe or any of the higher end Fender Strats, they have the 2-point tremolo instead of the 6-point, which is, I've never, ever liked these 6-screw trims, just because I hate the dangling arm. You have no control of it. It feels like when you go to do anything with the tremolo, you lose a bit of the musicality and what you're able to do with versus the ones with the 2-point. And I wanted to find something like that I could have on this guitar and make it that perfect exact sound I was going for. And the functionality, it was just the one thing it was missing. So I figured I'd share that with you today as we did that. And the other thing I want to talk about is just taking the time. It's so easy to get inundated and super busy and lose track of what's going on in the world and your life and just feel way down and like you're missing out on things or you're not doing good or things aren't going the way you want them to. But that only happens if you don't take the time to really celebrate the wins when they happen. And this happens to be one of those huge wins for us. Finally getting to the final point of putting together this tremolo and this finishing off this guitar is such a huge win. Other ones that I love to talk about, this year for us, at least in our studio musically, has been one of the busiest years for the studio, which is fantastic. Things are really taking off. You can't beat that. The YouTube channel that you're watching right now, our podcast, has been doing fantastic. Every day gets a little bit better. So if you haven't yet, take a second, join us, subscribe, give us a like if any of this stuff kind of interests you. But that's been going wonderful. Personally, as a musician, of course, like every engineer you ever talk to or studio owner is also a musician in their time. That's how every one of us got our start, and writing so much music, making so much progress as a guitar player this year. Set out with a lot of goals and was able to actually hit them or exceed them. You get to that point where the Dunning-Kruger effect, where you just, in the beginning, you don't know what you don't know, and kind of got to the point where I know exactly what I don't know, what to focus on, what to practice with, where to invest the time, and means that hopefully, knock on wood, gotta find some wood, 2025 is going to be even a better year. So really looking forward to that. I think that's going to be a huge win for the next year. Just knowing exactly what to focus on, where to invest the hours. Oh, I cannot wait. If anybody's ever interested in that, there are so many hundreds, maybe thousands of different courses online, different people spouting why they know better. But the thing about a guitar journey or any instrument is it's very personal. You could only learn things at a certain rate. You could only figure out things, in the way that your mind allows it to. Everybody's different. But if there's ever a time that anybody's interested in a guitar course, just let me know. I'd be happy to put one together. Definitely probably going to happen at some point. Just to help those people. Because honestly, you can spend decades stuck in the endless loop of mediocrity and just never get anywhere. Just eat at your soul. So that's something to look forward to. Great reason to subscribe and follow, just to make sure you don't miss that. Other wins from the year just have to be just personally, finding growth with family and loved ones, being able to really dedicate so much time to being with the ones you love. It's hard to beat that. That's a huge win. Finding that balance. And just ending the year out where I think at least we're going to have 3 or 4 different projects coming out for the studio. It'll be released. Just so great. Watching local musicians we've worked with this year grow, blossom, and become something really great has been so wonderful. So great to see them succeed and make strides in their music careers. Can't beat that. Excuse me. But really, there's so many different things, so many things to look forward to. Can't wait for that stuff. More coming in this next year. I think going towards the end of the year, we'll talk again about how vision boards can be a thing. I know it's kind of froofy and some people aren't into it, but it really can make such a big difference. So we'll talk about that, go from there. But that's some of the great stuff coming up. But right here at the end, I will be showing a video and I will play for you at the end. There's a nice intro at the beginning where we showed you the before, and I'll show you the after of the new Trem, and we'll take a look at that. And you can enjoy a look at that. But I just want to share some of those stories and why this was such a big win. And you'll probably see it in the background again, hanging there. It's been down in our theater for a while. But now that if you see it in the background, you'll know what it means, why it's so special. Always remember to celebrate your wins. Always be willing to make a couple sacrifices if you can to take that step forward. Yeah, it's very hard. It may not come back to you, but sometimes sacrifice is worth it. So again, I just wanted to share all that with you guys. I hope you enjoyed that. This is just a bit of a different one. Next week we'll be back to sharing some inspiring stories or some gear reviews, whatever we usually do. So we'll go back to that. I just want to take today to say 2024 was wonderful. A lot of it is you guys watching. Thank you guys so much. A lot of it was, hard work for years, literally decades, starting to come to fruition, paying off. So thank you guys so much. I really enjoyed having you here, and we'll see you on that next one. Bye.